Okay, so how to make students and parents happy. I learned that any teacher who had happy students and happy parents, they just love to teach. So what makes students and parents very happy? When I first started teaching, I thought it was showing them how to get an A in the course. But as a secondary high school teacher at a public school, there were very few students that actually earned an A. At the comprehensive high school, parents of ninth and 10th graders were first, more concerned about not receiving phone calls from the school principal. And second, students that were not failing their course. So those are the two things. They didn't want to receive calls from the principals, but they wanted to make sure their kids weren't failing the course. But I found out that the vast majority of students just wanted to be able to pass the class and not have to repeat the course during the summer. In my third year of teaching, I had set a ambitious goal of not to have any D's or F's. I told my students up front during the first few days of school but those students who were not present, they couldn't hear or feel or witness the emotion or enthusiasm in my voice about my passion for teaching and about my passion of wanting to help them succeed and pass my class. The end result was that the students who were there for those first few days of school did in fact pass my course because they understood me. We got each other. But those students who arrived after those first few days of school will only receive a syllabus that I would give them that would explain it in writing, but they couldn't feel the experience. And I was kind of naive in the beginning to think that they actually took that syllabus home and that their parents read it and signed, unlike when they were buying a home, that they actually read my syllabus because that was important. And my class sizes grew from 22 to 52 students, and everything else kind of got lost in the dust in my first years of teaching. But by my 8th year of teaching, I was transferred to an alternative school where I've been for the past 10 years, the best years of my life. In this environment, I have new students joining my class every school week. And I have very few students on the first 2 days of school. So every time a new student would come into my class, I would have to take about 20 minutes of my time to help them understand the routines of how to earn credits and how to graduate. And this was done about 3 to 4 days a week for about 36 weeks. So the best way to make students and parents happy was to ask them simply, what were their goals? And then decide how I, as a teacher, could help them achieve their goals. And this is why an orientation is the key to helping students achieve their goals. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more in this video about exactly what I put in my orientation. But teaching in the pandemic, it forced me to do something that I had always thought about doing, but never had the time to do. Make an on-demand video like I'm doing here on YouTube. So my formula for keeping parents and students happy is by doing the following. Make sure that all my students have an orientation that they attend and complete, and also make it on demand so it's accessible 24/7, 365 days a year, even during the summertime if they want it. So an orientation plus an on-demand video is a formula for success, to have happy students, happy parents, and guess what? That means I'm going to be a happy teacher. But an on-demand orientation video should always be available to parents and guardians and students 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So a week before school begins, I record an orientation video. Today's the 24th, which is a Sunday, but tomorrow I'm going to be making my orientation video for this next school year. And the first thing that my students will do is to watch my orientation video before giving them any work to do. And the video provides everything a student needs to be successful in my class and how to reach their goals, which they will share with me during this orientation process. So now I'm going to explain to you the following 11 things that are in my classroom orientation video. So I'm only going to do 11. They have changed throughout the years, and each year I modify it based on my anticipation of the students that are going to be walking through my door. But this is a foundation, and all of these things are in there, and I'm going to share with you why. So, how to get happy students and happy parents is by making sure that your students understand and your parents understand how they can accomplish their goals and be successful in your class. It's actually simple, because if they're all passing, they're happy. If they don't have a B, that's okay. My orientation shows them how to get the A. All right, so let's get into that. 11 things. So let me see if I can count correctly and don't mess it up. Number 1, I explain to my students my background. Briefly, don't want to put them to sleep on the first day, but most importantly, I explain to them why I became a teacher. And for me, I became a teacher because my sons were failing math. But yet when I teach them, or I would sit down with them one-on-one and reteach the concept, they will get it. What's up with that? So guess what? I became a teacher. I also share with my students my mission and vision statement. I've mentioned that in one of my earlier videos, but I have a mission and I have a vision for my students and about my teaching, and I share that with my students. Number 2, communication. I need to have an effective communication system that I can get a hold of my students and parents can get a hold of me. That's not intrusive on my privacy, but I have a way, and I use the remind.com. That's REMIND.com. I get no compensation off. It's a great program. I communicate with my parents and my students by text because I know they get the text. Number 3, I know that my students have to have a growth mindset or a positive mindset. They need to believe that they can do the concepts which are in my course. One way I do that is I evaluate them. I have them take a mindset inventory. And that mindset inventory tells me whether they're growth or fixed. If they're on a growth mindset, I go ahead and give them my curriculum. If they're on a fixed mindset, it's a no-no. I don't show them anything about my course. I don't care whether you're teaching math, science, or English. If a student thinks they have a fixed mindset, you're wasting your time. So I don't waste my time or their time. If they have a problem with the mindset, then I have a course that I send them to, which is, again, is part of their orientation. Number 4, I know that every student has a unique or dominant learning style, and I have my students do a learning style inventory so that they can identify and understand what their learning style is. And for me, that helps me because then I know how to approach that student. For instance, if I know if a student has an auditory learning style that's dominant, he is activated and motivated by my voice. So my voice inflections and just using music, etc., to working with even describing math lights that bulb. That's what I want to do. Learning contract. Number 5, learning contract is expanded more than just the syllabus. It also, besides the grading and what they're going to be learning, it also goes over responsibilities. What am I responsible to doing? In other words, I say in writing and sign it and date it that says that I'm going to do the following things for my students. Like, I'm going to help them learn. I believe in them. And I need to help and try to find out a way to turn that light on. Okay. Next is number 6, daily learning journal. I believe in order to learn, students need to know the following. And these are the 4 things that they need to do every day. Every day, they need to know what and why am I learning this? Next, how will I learn it? Next, how I know that I got it. And finally, if I didn't get it, what do I do? Who do I go to for help? Where is their help? These are the things of daily learning that I expect my students to do in order to be successful. How to use the curriculum. This is dependent on, if I have a textbook, that student needs to know how to use the textbook. I can't assume that they know how to read the darn textbook. I need to teach them how to do it. I just can't assume that if a student is up here learning online, that I just turn on the computer and say, here, go to this URL, that works. No. Guess what? I need to be able to walk the student through. So I explain to them how to use the curriculum, how to use the tools, how to use the resources that's going to help them get the equipment, to get that knowledge and everything else. So number 7 is I need to show them how to use the curriculum. Number 8, I get to know my students. I give them an inventory question that allows them to share with me their learning experience, both positive and negative. I need to know both. But the ideal is that I need to understand what their goals are. Is it simply do they care about an A? If you care about an A, then you need to let me know. So I will actually work with you differently. If you're just a student that just want to pass this course as fast as you can, then I need to know that. Okay. Next, I need to know what's up here. I'm teaching you math. I know that there's things that you don't know because that's why you came through my door. So now I need to do diagnostics testing. And I explain to you why am I doing diagnostics so that we can understand what you don't know so we can fill up those little potholes in the road so we can make things successful for you. Next, we have classroom rules. There's always rules of the road. When I was at the Naval Academy, if I got a boat and I'm going out the ocean, out the channel, guess what? There's some rules of the road. There's rules when you're driving your car on the street. There's rules when we play football. There's rules when you play video games. Get over it. Guess what? I have to put those classroom rules in there, but I put it in a fun and engaging way that my students understand exactly why. And it's for their safety and it's to help them to become successful. The last thing is number 11, and I call it positive behavior instructional supports. PBIS for those teachers that we know. But guess what? I explain this to my students. And in there, I explain, if you want to be successful here, you're a warrior at our school. A warrior has to do 4 things. The path of a warrior. So just like your challenges, things that you need to do to, go into boot camp in the military. This is what you have to do. So for our school, it's very simple. 1, you have to be present. If you're not at school, you're not going to be able to learn. 2, it makes a difference whether you come 30 minutes early or 30 minutes late. Be prompt, because when you're on time, you're going to be there from the very beginning. Remember, I mentioned at the very beginning of the school year, we have students that are enrolled, but they don't show up to the 3rd week in school. Guess what? You missed 3 weeks of school. It's important. Be present, be prompt. Next, be polite. Treat people like you would like to be treated, especially the teachers. And teachers, you need to treat those students like there's something special, that they're smart, they're talented, that they can do things. You need to believe in those students and everything else. So we're going to be present, we're going to be prompt, we're going to be polite, and the last thing is being productive. And that productive railroad or that track goes both ways. As a teacher, I need to be productive in every way, encouraging my students, guiding them, providing them feedback, doing formative assessments, all those things that I know that works to make a student successful. And students, you need to be coming in with the right idea that you're coming in with your own individual goals and you know what you're going to do. So orientation video is how I keep my students happy and my parents happy because my students are being successful in my class. I have no D's. I don't have any F's. That's out the way. I'm up here preaching to you today because this is the doc, and I want you to look at this. You got to have an orientation. Tell them about yourself. Communicate them with them. Find out about that mindset. Show them what their learning styles in. Get a learning contract and iron out those responsibilities in writing. Make sure they do a learning journal so they don't know what they're learning, why they're learning, how they're going to learn it, and how they know if they got it and where do they go for help. Teach them how to use that curriculum on their textbook. Get to know your students. Do that diagnostic testing and analyze it and show it and share the results with the students and the parents. Make sure they understand the classroom rules. PBIS, make it positive, present, prompt, polite, and productive. Be the only one. Be the only one, okay, that's there as a shining light to help those students. This is Dr. Smith. I shared with you my key of how to make students and parents happy. Let's go to work. See you on the other side.